Good morning, everyone. It's Joker, and today we are back with another slime video. And with the release of the Ice Wallenstein collab unit, we also got the Ice's Combat Training event, which, among giving us a Platinum Hammer, also gives us a free shard of Ice. So this is just a shard. It is not an initial copy, so you must already own Ice from summoning for her in order to use this memory stone. But if you do, and if you did summon for Ice and you did get her, she immediately has a dupe in her, which means she gets her Pierce Power trait and makes her a little bit stronger. It's not a super impactful shard, to be perfectly honest, because it's not protection gauge or skill points, but she's a DPS character. Giving her extra power is fine and dandy. But the first stage is fairly straightforward. It's simple, 300k EP. The second stage is where you actually get the dupe, and that's what we're going to be focusing on for today's video. And she has a bit of HP. She's got a starting hand of 1, 2, 2, 2, 3, 1, but 2 blues and 4 greens, but the second slot has 3 orbs. Do with that what you will. There are missions attached to it, so everyone alive times 3, use 150 points in one turn, which is not hard. 8 turns or less, 6 combo of greens, and clear with all magic characters. None of these I would consider overly difficult, but, kind of depends on your box. And then Ice herself has 8.5 million HP, has synergy and Aegis resistance, and nerfs oranges and blues. So they really, really, really want you to use a green orb team that can do 8.5 million damage type neutral, and you cannot stun. So people may struggle with that, because if people are struggling with 10 million Orc when you have the team, you might struggle with type disadvantage now without the extra damage buff that you get from the protection character, and we are missing a couple different big-time buffs here. She also has the aerial buff. She has defense and lowers your attack, nullifies status effects, and seals attack up on everyone. So status effects means Reckoning, and then attack lowers your synergy power and Aegis power, has a barrier that you have to break, and then probably if you get her low but don't kill her, she just fully heals. So there is a lot going on in this stage, so let's go ahead and pick out a few green teams that can make it through. Alright, starting out, we're going to use the Danmachi team with Tails, Collab, Xion. This team takes forever. We're also going to run the free-to-play Soka. This is not like the highest damage output version, but it's maybe a version that people could actually use. Maybe you have Xion, maybe you have all the Danmachi units. If you don't, then you just have to substitute out. You could use Exalted Champion Milim if you want. You could use any really DPS character that's going to benefit from all the Pierce power and such things. The weakness strike that we get from the Bell ults and the stacks from Ice herself do not matter here because we are all type neutral. So we're not getting as nearly as much power as we could out of this team, and that's just by virtue of being type neutral. But we're also going to go at double speed because this team, just kind of like Divine General, takes a little bit to run because they have so many skills to use every turn that it kind of just becomes a little bogged down. But you can see during some of these hits that we are missing our hits, and it's not all of them. I think her dodge rate is like 20 or 30% or something, but you will notice it. And sometimes if you're running a specific team that needs hits, like the Schemer team, which we do use today, you will miss some of those hits, and those hits actually do matter for their sword gimmick. So you will do less damage than expected throughout the fight, because sometimes you just do not connect. So that hits, and then there's an ice orb that misses. I don't know if a 200% orb is always guaranteed to hit. I know that when we got the Konosuba collab in Darkness, she had a chance to just straight up whiff, but it would never whiff on a 5th or 6th send of an orb, because that would just be rude and cruel and unusual punishment. But the first 4 orbs she could miss, or if you just sent a couple orbs every turn, then she could miss those potentially. So I don't know if there's a formula built into the enemy dodge rate or not. But we're on turn 4. We've got an EX ult for Ice. Alright, cool. We've got an ult for Xion as well. So let's go ahead and probably swap Ice out. Her stacking buff is, again, not going to be super impactful. It's going to be more useful for you to stack with Bell more than Ice, because the wind attack, while cool, is already being given to us by Hestia and Ice's own personal buff, the 100, what amounts to 125% wind attack. And then the only other thing we're stacking is the weakness strike, and that doesn't do anything here. So it's more important to really go into the stacks with Bell, and maybe the stacks with Ryu, since she's doing magic, Soka Ryu, since she's doing magic attack and pierce resistance down. Two things that actually do matter for our damage output on this team. But the weakness strike that we get from Bell and Shuna's ult don't matter. The extra ult damage we get from Bell, that does matter, but it's not a lot. Like, we're going to get 100 to 120% throughout the course of this fight, maybe less, depending on how you're running things. But any damage that we do to the enemy, she pretty much just heals up once she drops below a certain threshold. And if you do not kill her with the nuke on turn whatever, and none of your gimmicks, none of your damage kills her, she will just heal to full. Multiple times. So you could be in this fight for a while, and you could get her almost there, but not quite. But she'll just heal it up if you do not actually successfully kill her. So we're just continuing to buff here. We got a bit more Soka stacks on. We'll send these ults just to get them out of our hands so we don't have to worry about them. And yeah, the Danmachi team, you can make substitutions. Obviously, you don't need to bring Tail Shion. You could bring Fern or someone that's not built into Synergy or Aegis, which there's not too many Aegis units, but Synergy is quite popular. But you already have a bunch of wind attack. You are getting ult damage, but you can always get more. You could do Spirit Master Leon. Like, that would work well. 222% ult damage, essentially. You could bring a crit unit, a different crit unit. You could bring the OG Masked Hero. You could bring the Light Masked Hero for the Pierce Power. Additional Pierce Power, because that's a temporary buff, whereas Bell is stacking permanent. But we are ready to nuke now. It is turn 8, so let's use the Shion buff. We've already used the Ice buff, because that's at 100%. And then once we use Hestia, we can use Bell and his Pierce rate. And that's pretty much it. I guess we can get another stack of wind attack for Ice. Let's go ahead and send everything. Bell does 2 million damage, a single target support ult, and then Ice comes in and cleans with 10 million damage. And the enemy Ice only has like 8.3 or something. So definitely not like a max power Danmachi team, but definitely can get it done. And you don't need every single character to do it. You don't need Soka on the team. You don't need Shion on the team. You could not even have Ice on the team, because she's not really doing that much. And quite honestly, she's got the enhancement and she's got the wind attack. That's about it. You could replace her for someone else if you really wanted to. Alright, another team that takes forever to run is Divine General. We are running the full thing. I am bringing the Masked Hero, but I'm under the heavy assumption that not a lot of people have the Masked Hero, so I intentionally don't use any of Hero's skills. Like, you could replace her for Vengeance, free-to-play Yome, or some other buffing character, and you will actually benefit off of that, but I just left her here because I didn't want to change the team, and I intentionally do not use the Rewind, and do not use her Pierce Power. She is here solely to be a Divine General character that Gazel can orb change. So I'm kind of handicapping myself in that aspect. But also, I'm not going to make you sit here and watch the next 12 minutes of this team being run. So we'll just watch the first few turns, that way people who are unsure can grasp the idea of what you're supposed to do. Gazel converts one Divine General orb and gives you stacking 15% skill points. Diablo has the multi-skill and the 50% green buff. We'll use a stack of Raphael, who's doing synergy power and ult damage. And then pretty much you're looking for 3 to 4 orbs of greens every turn. And we have Blanc. I don't know if a lot of people will have her as well, but she is a single target nuking character alongside Raph, and she does have the space ult swap. So this turn looks pretty good. We're just going to take the hero out. We're going to use Diablo's green buff without resetting him, because it's more important that we reset Gazel than Diablo. So, I think we have enough. Yeah, so let's do a stack with Raphael, and then let's get Raphael out. This team does not lack for ult gauge because of the Enamor effect that the Elmesia gives, So we don't really mind sending one of our characters out. I just don't want an ult for Gazel. Like, anybody else, fine, just not Gazel. He does not deserve an ult. But we'll use Elmesia to reset, and then we'll use another orb change because we use the multi-skill. And now we can send 6. We've got 184 points, and that's pretty much what you're going to do for the next 6 turns, is convert with Gazel. Alright, that's fine. We can alt swap Blanc away, so that's a guaranteed green orb. And we can multi-skill, and we can use stacks of Roth. So let's jump ahead to turn 6. And, oh look, 1 orb that we have to convert. So let's do another stack. Let's do the multi-skill. Let's do the convert with Gazel. And then Gazel is going to GTFO. And we'll probably bring in Blanc so we can alt swap away. Or the hero, one that works too. But we're still going to continue to stack with Raphael and his synergy and alt damage, leaving just enough points for us to alt swap Blanc away. Or we actually don't need to even bring Blanc in. We could just send this entire hand and use literally all of our points on Raphael, because we're going to make most of it back anyways. And we're not doing a lot of damage. She has a decent amount of HP. We are type neutral. And again, we are not going to use the Pierce Power or Rewind skill from the Masked Hero intentionally. And the good thing about Protector Elmesia is that she will eliminate any of the resistances to synergy that this Ice has. She can't do it for Aegis, because Aegis didn't exist at the time. But Elmesia removes the synergy resistance that Ice has, meaning that you can actually synergy power with Diablo and not lose any kind of damage. And even if we didn't have that seal, I mean, we are going to have so much additional synergy power from the stacks of Raphael that it kind of doesn't really matter. So this is turn 7, 1 more convert, and then another stack, and then we could bring Blanc in for Gazel, and then use her alt swap, and those are our guaranteed greens, and that leaves us enough points to do 1 more stack of Roth on this turn. We have 2 EX single target nukes, and we just have to break this barrier, but we miss on a few of them, so we're going to have to send a few more orbs on turn 8 in order to actually break it. Please make sure that you actually break the barrier first before you nuke. Otherwise, you're going to send your super strong Blanc and Raphael ults into literally nothing, and you're going to feel real bad about it. So let's multi-skill, and then we can bring Gazel in for Diablo. Yeah, Diablo, let's do buff, buff, buff. We gotta use the synergy with Diablo before we send him away. And I want to convert this entire hand because, again, I'm not sure if we're actually gonna hit those 2 barriers left over. So I want to send 4 orbs prior to increase our chances. So, stack and convert, and then another stack and a convert. And then we can reset with Elmesia 1 more time, and then that'll be our last convert for Gazel, and then whatever points left over we have, we can then stack with Raphael. So we have the ult damage, we have the dark and space attack, we have the synergy power, we have the stacking ult and synergy power from Raphael, and then the stacking attack buff from Protector Elmesia. And again, we have not used the Masked Hero at all. She is literally here just to be someone that we can convert orbs for. But 1, 2, we broke the barrier on 2 hits, that's good. 3 and 4, and then Raphael comes in with 8.8 million. He pretty much one shot, and we still had a Blanc ult in the back, so it's not necessary that you have Blanc, but it does make life a lot easier because of the alt swap and a backup nuking character. So that definitely works for people. Okay, so we're gonna have like a double example team. So the Schemer team, the sword gimmick, can do a lot of damage if you can make things work for you. If you have the multi-hits, and if you have the follow-up orbs, and you have high attack. Unfortunately, even the multi-hits are somehow a slightly bit nerfed here. Because while we can run a team that has Lumi and Laplace and Soka for the gimmick and the multi-hits and the follow-up orbs, the Ice in this fight does not actually let you do a lot of damage with those, because 1, she removes statuses, which would not hurt your sword gimmick directly, but because she also puts a pretty hefty attack nerf on you, and the swords do damage based on your current attack stat, that doesn't do you any favors. And also, she removes your statuses, like Lord's Ambition, which would make you immune to the attack nerf. And she removes that before the sword gimmick kicks in, because it's like the very last thing that happens on turn 5. And so even though you could have almost like 150 hits with what would you think a decent attack stat, we brought Commander Diablo specifically because he has Lord's Ambition and a 100% attack buff. And so if we stack with that for a couple turns, and then use his Lord's Ambition and attack buff and leave him in the back, you would think that would work, and the sword gimmick would kick in and you would do 8.5 million damage to kill Ice. It's not the case, though, because she takes it away, even on the backline, and then also applies that nerf to everyone, including the backline, so no one has a super high attack because it's all been nerfed. And if you attempt to nuke and you don't kill, Ice will straight up just heal back to 100% HP before the sword gimmick even comes into play. And you're gonna need a lot of attack, like a lot of attack to kind of even attempt to get around that. And I'm sure there's one way to make it work, but also something going against you is the fact that Ice can dodge a lot of your hits. You're still gonna do quite a few of them, but some of the follow-ups may miss, some of the multi-hits may miss, and so you're not gonna get the true multi-hit value that this team normally has because she has dodge. So your hit counter is going to be a bit lower. So we're on turn 3. Let's just skip ahead to, turn 5 right here. And so what we've done is we have sent Diablo away to the back. We're up to 117 hits. We'll have a few more after this turn. We've used Lord's Ambition and his attack buff on the back line. We could probably see that if we click on any skills here. But we're just going to send this entire hand, and we're not going to nuke. We could nuke, but we're not going to kill, because we can't do enough damage with this current build. So we got this, 121 hits. We'll get these, 125, 139. I'll jump up to like 143 or something. 147. Miss, hit, miss, hit. We're at 151 now, which is the rainbow standard for your hit counter. There's the heal, though. We didn't kill her. The swords haven't kicked in yet. And then she's going to remove your statuses. There you go, nerf the attack. And now Diablo doesn't have it. And we do probably what amounts to about 6 million HP or something in damage. And these aren't doing a lot because our attack is nerfed. So the sword gimmick, unfortunately, does not work. But you could just actually use a schemer team as just a straight nuking potential, and then you could kill. So coming back, we're going to use the schemer team as it's meant to just nuke without the really playing into the sword gimmick, because we already saw that that doesn't really work. So we have swapped Commander Diablo for actual schemer Diablo. His AoE nuke with his personal buff will do a lot of damage. He's in the back holding on to the big damage buff from Blanc, and his own personal buff, and the synergy power buff. So let's use Lumi to give us the physical attack and the synergy resistance down. We have an ult for Soka and an EX ult for Diablo, and between these 3 ults, we will be able to just nuke Ice without having to rely on the sword gimmick. And again, if you don't kill Ice with these nukes, and she survives, and you wait for the sword gimmick, she's going to heal up, and you're probably just not going to kill her, because she's going to nerf your attack, and she's going to heal to full. So with this turn, we are going to actually kill. Blanc does not a lot, 310. Soka does 843, and then Diablo does 7.6 million damage, which thankfully is enough. And then we had a couple follow-up orbs. So the schemer team can do it, but you can't really rely on just the sword gimmick by itself. You have to traditional nuke. And that's... maybe someone out there actually managed to kill with the sword gimmick in this stage. If you did, please let me know. I'm interested to see your team and how you operated that to get the kill. But for the most part, you probably just have to just normal nuke her down. Alright, the last team I'm going to show you is a failed attempt. I tried to use Protector of Peace because it's another green stacking team that wants crit. And this team, even when it came out, wasn't that good. We've brought Idol Shuna. She's not really doing a lot for us because Synergy is nerfed, But we are going to have a double alt swap into green orbs, which is why I brought her. If you have Overlord Shizu, by chance, then she'll work a lot better, but I'm assuming most people don't now. But Overlord Shizu also would give us a little bit extra damage potential because of the ult resistance down. But even with Protector of Peace operating at full potential, with an EX ult for Shion and Rimuru, and a normal ult for Hinata, with all the buffs that we could activate here, ult resistance down, water attack for Shion, guaranteed crits for everyone, 150% ult damage for Rimuru, the physical attack, and then the full 100% crit resistance down debuff from Hinata, it's actually pathetic damage. Actually pathetic damage. And it makes me so super duper sad. And we also have stacking ult damage and stacking crit damage from Shion and Hinata's skills. So it's like, we've got quite a bit going on. The only thing we don't have is the Shuna synergy power, because one, that's really only buffs magic characters, and two, synergy is nerfed anyways. But the Shion single target ult does 2.5 million. Like, that's awful. Awful. Rimuru, his AoE, but 150% ult damage, 1.78 million. Also terrible. And Hinata without an EX ult, I mean, it does 386. Like, that's actually awful. So, I attempted this team, another green stacking team. It didn't work very well, as you can see. And then she's just going to heal back up, and that's just, I don't want to do it at that point. So, there are a couple different teams you could or could not use for the Ice event. I will keep working on this and have a part 2 video in a couple of days or so. I've got other things to record right now. But there are obviously other teams that can do this. Even though oranges are a bit nerfed, you could probably get around it. Even though blues are nerfed, that's a bit harder to get around, unfortunately. But there is, you know, if you have the power of rainbows, anything is possible for both these teams. So I will have another video coming out in the coming days with those types of teams, the specific ones that can. But along the way, if you have any other teams that you have found to work, please let me know in the comments and I'll try them out as well. But that's it for me, guys. Take it easy, and I'll see you all later.